Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I want to make a little short video doing my recap of 2024 with the WWE. Now, I don't watch AEW, so I can't do AEW, so I can't really do the whole of wrestling. I don't watch TNA, so I can't do that. I only watch WWE, so here's my thoughts on the recap of 2024, which was the WWE. Now, as we go into 2024, Roman Reigns is your champion. The bloodline is reigning supreme. Uh, Roman Reigns managed to hold on to the WWE Championship by the skin of his teeth at WrestleMania 39 against Cody Rhodes. And what um, the head of creative, Paul Levesque, said at his at the press conference was that you got to wait for it to play out, and Cody Rhodes has to finish his story. So that became the mantra, basically, for uh, all the Cody fans. He got to finish his story. He must finish his story. And in order to do that, he would have to go on to the Royal Rumble, which took place in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was the first time in 3 years the WWE had been in St. Petersburg, Florida. The last time they were there, Edge won the Royal Rumble, and it was the Royal Rumble 2021. But that was during the COVID years, and that was the Thunderdome. So here they are returning to that arena, and everybody's banking on Cody Rhodes to win. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes. First of all, uh, it is announced that Raw will be moving in the beginning of January to Netflix, to the streaming service Netflix, and um, essentially starting to phase out the WWE Network, which has been with us for 10 years, and ending Raw's relationship with the USA Network that it's had for many years, going back the second time to 2005. Because as you guys were, 2006 rather, they moved back in 2006 and um, to 2005 6 basically was when they moved back. Homecoming, I believe it was. Yeah, no, it was 2005. Sorry. Yes, it was 2005. I was right the first time where they moved back to USA Network. Before that, they won TNN, the Nashville network that they moved to in 2000. But before that, Raw was always on the USA Network. I think that was WWE's home since the early 80s when Southwest Championship Wrestling, Tully Blanchard's father's promotion, got kicked off for throwing feces. And Vince McMahon took advantage and he put All American Wrestling on USA Network, and that was their home through the Monday Night Wars. That was their home when Raw first started in 1993. That was always their home of Monday Night Raw, but now Monday Night Raw is once again uh, moving to Netflix. Then it was announced. I'm getting to that, David. Then it was announced that The Rock is a board member on the TKO board. As you guys recall, last year, September 12th, 2023, TKO Group Holdings formed, merging the UFC's parent company Zuffa with the World Wrestling Entertainment, forming a mega company called TKO Group Holdings. Now, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who a few months prior to the end of 2023 had returned. He confronted Jinder Mahal and stuff. And he had returned, but now we found out he's on the board of directors. Right, he is essentially a boss. And what happens to the other boss? The other boss, Vince McMahon. He gets caught up in new allegations, new sexual allegations. This time by Janelle Grant. Right, who alleges that Vince McMahon shat on her and he abused her. And because of this, Vince McMahon is once again, this time, forced out. It's not like in 2022 when he excused himself out, right? He's this time forced out. So as David is saying, we going into the Royal Rumble. The Rock is back, and everybody. Some people want to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns, right? So because there's always been talk about it. So Cody wins the Royal Rumble, last eliminating CM Punk. CM Punk last year, Survivor Series, Survivor Series 2023 returned, much to the aggravation of Seth Rollins, who was yelling and screaming and carrying on when he saw Punk come back at Survivor Series 2023. So CM Punk is back, and it comes down to like a mini match between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. But Cody Rhodes, like David's saying, once again, the winner of the 2024 Royal Rumble, joining an exclusive club that only includes himself, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The last time a person had won back-to-back Royal Rumbles was 1998, and that was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Shawn Michaels won it in 1995 and 1996. Hulk Hogan won it in 1990 and 1991, respectively, and Cody Rhodes won it in 2023 and 2024. So now we all think Cody Rhodes is going to be the guy to take on Roman Reigns once again in a rematch. Nope. There's a strange thing that happens. The Rock comes out and he says, and Cody says, "I want to take everything away from you, Roman, but not at WrestleMania." And he basically hands his championship over to his title opportunity over to The Rock. Now people are up in arms, right? People are like, "Oh my God, The Rock comes in. He's a board of directors at TKO and shit, and now he thinks that he can run things. He thinks he can come in and get a WWE championship shot, you know, right then and there." There's a hashtag We Want Cody movement, much like 10 years ago people did with Daniel Bryan, but this time much more vociferously. They take to the internet and they began to campaign for Cody Rhodes, the We Want Cody movement. So The Rock goes on Pat McAfee's show and he responds and he starts calling the people the Cody crybabies. And WWE is basically saying, "Fuck it, we're going through with The Rock versus Roman Reigns, and that's it." Right? Cody had his chance. He had his chance at the WWE Championship, and he gave it up. That's the end of it. Seth Rollins, who's the World Heavyweight Champion, he tries to convince Cody to go for his championship at WrestleMania and take that Royal Rumble opportunity and face him at WrestleMania in a very persuasive argument because remember, these two have history. When Cody came back at WrestleMania 38, it was Seth Rollins that he faced. It was also Seth Rollins who took him out at Hell in a Cell 2022. Out of action, out of commission, Cody. So they have history. When that history will tie in later. So they go to this press conference in Vegas. And this huge press conference, and Paul Heyman is there, Roman Reigns is there, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, what have you, everybody. And basically, they're trying to set up this match between The Rock and Roman Reigns. Suddenly, Cody Rhodes says, "Wait a minute, I didn't agree to that. I still want my shot against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania." So to back him up, Seth Rollins comes, and they exchange insults and everything. And then Cody happens to say that if The Rock's father and grandfather were alive today, he'd be ashamed of the way that The Rock is acting. And if Roman's father were alive, he'd be ashamed of the way he's acting. And then The Rock goes, "Don't you dare talk about my family." And immediately then and there, he slaps Cody Rhodes at this press conference. And he gets into a big melee with Seth Rollins backing up Cody Rhodes and The Rock backing up Roman Reigns. Basically, The Rock turns heel at this press conference is really well done, and it's something that needed to be done because the fans were turning Rock heel. Whenever the proposed match between The Rock and Roman Reigns was brought up, you would hear chants of Rocky sucks, die Rocky die, like it was 1997 all over again. So what does The Rock do? The SmackDown following that press conference, he tells Triple H, Levesque, he tells him, handle this. And there's like a little confrontation between Triple H and The Rock. And we know their history goes way, way back to like 97. It was The Rock who took the Intercontinental Championship off Triple H on Thursday, Raw Thursday, way back in the day. Not to mention their match at SummerSlam 1998 and their other match at WrestleMania 2000 in the four-way, and they even teased it at WrestleMania 31, the mixed tag with Rock and Ronda versus Stephanie and Triple H, which never happened. Triple H and The Rock, they have a lot of history. So he says, handle this. And fans are excited. Fans are excited for the WWE for the first time ever. And on SmackDown, Roman Reigns comes out with the bloodline, and he announces that The Rock is now a member of the bloodline. And The Rock proceeds to berate the fans, put down the fans, call them crackheads. They're in Scottsdale, Arizona at that time. I think that first SmackDown. Whatever. And this happens for weeks and weeks until the stipulation is finally set for WrestleMania. And the stipulation is this: The Rock and Roman Reigns will team up to take on Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. And if Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes lose the match, then it will be bloodline rules. It will be basically a no rules match. The following night two, in Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. So that's what happens, and that's the road to WrestleMania 40. A very interesting road, and these promos. I mean, there's one promo where The Rock is just beating up Cody Rhodes. He makes him bleed and everything. And this has fans really excited for what we will see the following year on Netflix. That will again be like kind of uncensored. Right, so let's see what else is happening at WrestleMania. A lot else is happening at WrestleMania, but that's mainly the two main things. And then people are thinking, oh, well, it's Philly. Philly has a lot of history for The Rock. Philly has a lot of history for Roman Reigns. The Rock first main evented Philly. The first time he ever main evented a WrestleMania was the last time they were in Philly against Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 15. They were also at Philly when Roman Reigns won his first Royal Rumble in 2015, and The Rock had to come out and save him, and he couldn't even come out and save him. They blew Roman Reigns out of the building. So there's a lot of history there. And of course, there's a lot of history with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Also at WrestleMania, is they're doing this Rocky storyline with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is like a Rocky guy trying to capture the Intercontinental Championship, because Sami Zayn, he was a huge part of the Bloodline storyline in 2023. From the time the Bloodline, from 2022 to like the end, the beginning of 2023, when he turned on them at the Royal Rumble, and then a huge part of the main event, the co-main event where he and Kevin Owens took on the Usos, night one at WrestleMania 39. So he kind of fallen out of favor, and now he's like wrestling Chad Gable. Rhea Ripley, who this is when they began the Rhea Ripley, she's taking on Becky Lynch. She's defending her championship against Becky Lynch because she goes to Elimination Chamber and she's successful. It's the Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. first ever international elimination chamber. And she also is successful at WrestleMania, defending her championship against Becky Lynch. Who wins the female Royal Rumble? Bailey wins the female Royal Rumble. Bailey at this time is a member of Damage Control, but Damage Control turns on her. She takes on Io Sky at WrestleMania, and she defeats Io Sky. So Bailey had a little bit of an up and down year, as they were at least for WrestleMania. But what's beginning to brew between uh, two female superstars is Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was injured by Rhea Ripley, so she comes out. She in a backstage segment, she attacks Rhea Ripley, and she puts Rhea Ripley out of commission. Now, while Rhea Ripley is out of commission, she is starting to plant the seeds of replacing Rhea Ripley in a lot of ways. Seducing Dirty Dominic Mysterio to be her boyfriend, to the point where Dirty Dominic Mysterio actually helps her capture the championship. Right? And people are wondering, like, and once Rhea Ripley comes back, Rhea Ripley's like, oh, that's over with you, Dom. Like, why are you doing that shit? But then, you know, but then eventually Dominic Mysterio turns on Rhea Ripley, and she's out of the Judgment Day. Another person that is out of the Judgment Day eventually because of something that happens here is Damian Priest. Damian Priest been in the Judgment Day since day one. Was recruited by Edge himself. He wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Now the World Heavyweight Championship is brand new. Now Seth Rollins is like pulling a double duty here because Seth Rollins has to be in that tag team main event with Roman Reigns and The Rock and Cody Rhodes, but also he has to um, he has to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre is on this trolling campaign with CM Punk. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, if there's a feud of the year in WWE for 2024, is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. CM Punk was injured in that Royal Rumble confrontation with Cody Rhodes, right? So he couldn't wrestle at WrestleMania 40, but he distracts Drew McIntyre and then allowing for Damian Priest to cash in his Money in the Bank and defeat Drew McIntyre minutes after Drew McIntyre defeated the champion Seth Rollins. So what a year CM Punk has had. Last year in 2023, he was finishing up in AEW, getting into his his um his feud with Jack Perry, and Tony Khan was fearing for his life. He was persona non grata. But finally, after 9 years, he returns to WWE, and after 10 years, here he's finally not featured in the main event at WrestleMania, but plays a heavy part. And for the first time since the early 1970s, a man of Puerto Rican descent is a major champion in the WWE, and that is Damian Priest. Congratulations to him. He has an awesome year as the champion. It's not until like the summer that he loses it to Gunther, who also has an amazing year. Gunther, who has an amazing year. But this causes the sanction with the Judgment Day. Finn Balor, for example, wants to challenge him. So now uh, Dominic Mysterio has kicked. Later on in the summer, he turns. He turns on Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan joins the Judgment Day. And but also uh, Damian Priest kicked out of the Judgment Day. Now, when Damian Priest wins the World Heavyweight Championship, hashtags go up all over at the night after WrestleMania, calling him the bisexual Undertaker, right? Because of the way he's dressed. So they're both kicked out of the Judgment Day, and they form the team of the Terror Twins, he and Rhea Ripley. So that's that. We move on to WrestleMania as a success. Cody Rhodes finishes up his story, Cinderella story. They lose to the Bloodline. The Rock has his own championship because at Hall of Fame last year, Muhammad Ali's wife presents The Rock with the People's Championship. So The Rock actually, for the WrestleMania match, The Rock actually comes out with the People's Championship belt draped around his waist, and Roman Reigns has his title. Right? So uh, they're looking like bosses, and they actually win. So Bloodline rules night 2. And Cody wins. You know, Cody defeats the odds. You got John Cena coming out. You got Seth Rollins coming out. And the way Seth Rollins comes out is he comes out dressed in the Shield outfit. Now, when the Shield's music hit, Jon Moxley wasn't yet the AEW champion at this time yet. So people are like, oh, well, did Jon Moxley leave AEW? And is he coming back to WWE as Dean Ambrose? Right? No. But the way that Roman Reigns in the Shield gear, right, the way he hit Seth Rollins in the back with a chair reminded you of when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, right, to be the henchman for the Authority like 10 years before that. It was a callback, and it was a great callback. So everybody's out there. Cena, like I said, is out there, who still had his beef with Solo Sikoa from last year, and of course had his beef historically with The Rock. Finally, the final boss, The Rock, that's what he's going by now at this time, comes out. And we're thinking Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he was there the year before. He took on Kevin Owens, and he has history. Who has more history with The Rock than freaking Stone Cold Steve Austin? It got to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. No, the lights go on, and it's The Undertaker, and a chokeslam from hell to The Rock, helping Cody Rhodes capture the WWE Championship. What a magical night. And that was the only downside to that event. I wish it would have been Stone Cold Steve Austin. It would have been so much more poetic. But it was The Undertaker. The Undertaker really, and The Rock, they never really had history all that much in WWE. Like, they never worked at WrestleMania together or anything. Yeah, The Undertaker has tremendous history with the Anoa'i family, particularly Yokozuna, but not necessarily with The Rock. So it didn't make sense. So now with Roman Reigns losing the championship, he goes away for months and months. Who takes over the Bloodline? Solo Sikoa. So one of the things that he starts to do in the Bloodline is he starts to clean house, and he starts to bring in his own people. He starts to bring in Tangaloa, Tamatanga, Haku's sons, and he starts to bring in Jacob Fatu. So this is basically an all-new Bloodline. He now declares himself the tribal chief. And initially, the wise man, Paul Heyman, he goes along with it. He's cool with it to some extent. But later on, and this is real good for Jimmy Uso because, Jey Uso, he branches off and does his own thing and becomes really popular on the Raw brand with the Yeet, right? This is exactly what he needed. He was doing it already. I mean, they had the Uso versus Uso match at WrestleMania 40. It sucked. It was horrible. It was the worst match on the show. Awesome Truth won the tag team championships. A lot of eventful stuff happened. Travis Kelce's brother showed up. at WrestleMania 40. He was pretty cool. WrestleMania 40 is probably one of the best. But again, the underdog won, the fans' choice won, just like happened at WrestleMania 10, just like happened at WrestleMania 20, 30, and again 40 continues that tradition. So Cody Rhodes is the champion. Who does he take on? Who's his next opponent? Well, throughout the year, he begins to take on a lot of different challenges, starting with AJ Styles. AJ Styles is the first person that he defends the championship against. Um, in an amazing match in Lyon, France. Again, WWE was international this year. They were in Perth for Elimination Chamber. They were in France. Um, Later on, they'd be in the Bash in Berlin. They went all over. They went twice to Saudi Arabia, once for the King of the Ring and once for a regular Crown Jewel show. So just like the one that they did a couple of years back with Puerto Rico, right? I think it was like 2022. I mean, no, 23 with Puerto Rico, where they had Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. Just like they did that, this crowd in France was incredible. This was an incredible crowd, and they also did Clash the Castle this year as well. This was an incredible crowd. They were on their feet for almost everything AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes did, and it was a pretty good match, I say. The Bloodline took on Kevin Owens and Randy Orton in that as well. And Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill took on the Kabuki Warriors. So that is Backlash France. King and Queen of the Ring, like I said, finally bringing back the King of the Ring tournament. The King of the Ring tournament, as far as I can remember, it's been dormant since 2019. The last person to win it was uh, Baron Corbin. No, it was Baron Corbin and Zelina Vega won Queen. It's always one of my favorite things. They can use it. They can use it as a type of gimmick. They've done that in the past. Owen Hart, the King of Hearts, King Mabel, Sheamus, King Booker, all these different ones. But they decided to make it a pay-per-view this year, once again, from Saudi Arabia, or a PLE, I should say. And the two winners were Gunther, who defeated Randy Orton, and Nia Jax, who defeated Lyra Valkyria. Lyra Valkyria. And also, uh, Cody Rhodes defeated Logan Paul at that Crown Jewel, that King of the Ring, rather. King, Queen of the Ring. The next one is the one I said, um, Clash of the Castle, Scotland. And once again, there's a rematch between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. Once again, another great match between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. They really put on a clinic there. And due to interference from CM Punk, once again, Damian Priest defeats Drew McIntyre. But this time, CM Punk was the special guest referee for this match. So he was really fucking with Drew McIntyre this whole year. Um, but Drew McIntyre does get a Money in the Bank win at the next pay per view. Money in the Bank, he does get it. He becomes your Money in the Bank winner. So, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, what a story. Long story short, their feud culminates in an amazing match later on in the year. Like the best match of the year. At Bad Blood, those two tore the house down. They had a better match than anybody. But also at that pay per view, The Rock shows up. Cause see, at SummerSlam, jumping around a little bit, but at SummerSlam, there's a match between Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes. And Solo Sikoa, they're finally returning to Detroit, the place in 1993 where Yokozuna took on Lex Luger. And this time it's Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. And Cody Rhodes defeats Solo Sikoa, but who returns is Roman Reigns. He's returned. Now, over this time, Solo Sikoa has become a maniac, basically. He's become a power hungry freak. He's even scaring Paul Heyman. And then finally, in an event in Madison Square Garden, Paul Heyman, in a in a in a surprising face turn, says, "You are not my tribal chief," and then he's attacked by the new bloodline. So Roman Reigns has to come back and avenge him. And Roman Reigns then starts a feud with Solo Sikoa, and he reunites the original bloodline going into Survivor Series. Um, between these factions. Problem is, uh, the new bloodline, Bloodline 2.0, recruits Bronson Reed. And the old bloodline doesn't have anybody else new. They go to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins says he will never team with Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns, during his reign of terror over those years, from the time he turned heel at SummerSlam 2020 to the time he reigned as the tribal chief, he made a lot of enemies. He made enemies in Drew McIntyre. He made enemies in Kevin Owens. He made enemies in Seth Rollins, especially people that have been fighting the bloodline for years and years. And um, that initial unreluctance by people like Cody Rhodes to side with the babyface bloodline, the OG bloodline, causes uh, causes Roman Reigns. I mean, causes uh, Kevin Owens to get upset. He eventually attacks Cody Rhodes, even though they have a babyface versus babyface match at Bash of Berlin in Germany. It eventually turns ugly, and then by the time they cap the year off in their match at Saturday Night's Main Event, it is way worse. Kevin Owens is now a heel, and Kevin Owens has resurrected the Winged Eagle Championship. So there's talk at the Royal Rumble coming up, Royal Rumble 2025, that there might be a ladder match between the two, between Cody Rhodes and um, Kevin Owens. Because some people don't like that, all of a sudden now it's all water under the bridge with Roman Reigns after all the bullshit he pulled, so nobody will team with him. Finally, in the weeks leading up to Survivor Series, the wise man Paul Heyman, who was taken out with an injury, comes back. And he says, I got the fifth guy for him, and the fifth guy is CM Punk. But he promised CM Punk something. He promised him a favor. Now, we don't know what that favor is, right? We do know that he is going to be on that special Raw, January the 6th, the first Raw of Netflix. Roman Reigns will be taking on Solo Sikoa, and CM Punk will be taking on Seth Rollins. You know what I mean? So we got to see. What, as the weeks lead in, what is that favor? And also, after WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes came out and The Rock came out, and The Rock handed Cody Rhodes something. Now, we don't know what exactly was in that. You know what I mean? So that's another mystery that needs to be solved. A lot of cliffhangers that Triple H, Paul Levesque has left us with. But overall, this was an amazing year. Another one is who attacked Jade Cargill. I think it's taking her out of the Survivor Series match that she was supposed to be in. I think it was pretty obvious that it was Bianca Belair because since Jade Cargill left AEW and came to WWE, and they had the face-off in that one Royal Rumble, people wanted to see them two together. Raquel Rodriguez, the newest member of the Judgment Day. So a lot has happened over the past year in WWE. Vince McMahon no longer there. Brock Lesnar no longer there. We all got upset because we all wanted to see Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. But the way they built up Braun Breaker and making him sort of like the new Lesnar. They teased kind of Goldberg because they did a thing where Bret Hart appeared on Raw and he said, and Gunther said that Goldberg was his favorite wrestler. We all know Goldberg was the one in 1999 that put Bret Hart out of commission. So they mentioned Goldberg. So Goldberg shows up at Bad Blood and confronts Gunther, right? But uh, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Goldberg is pretty much done. After his match against Braun Strowman, the weakest, at WrestleMania 36, back what we 5 years now, going on 5 years. That was pretty much it for him. It's pretty much done. Well, no, I can't really say that because he came back 2 years later to take on Roman Reigns in the Saudi Arabia show, and that was pretty horrible as well. So every time he shows up, he pretty much bombs if it's not against Brock Lesnar. So I wouldn't want to see Goldberg there. So, but Brock Lesnar is persona non grata in WWE because he was named in the lawsuit. Vince McMahon sent him urination videos of Janelle Grant, the woman pissing, so he's pretty much out of it. They said a former UFC champion. He's pretty much the only former UFC champion that is prolific within WWE, so there had to be him, right? I've seen new pictures of him on the internet. Sable looks like Melania Trump now. But we're going into this Raw, man. Saturday night's main event was a hell of a show, too. Especially the match Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens with Jesse the Body Ventura calling the old school Jesse the Body Ventura. They really tapped into something special with these Saturday night's main events, these nostalgias. And for the first full year of TKO owning the WWE, I got to say, they did pretty good. We're in the Renaissance era. WWE is at the height of its popularity, man. Something we haven't seen in many years since like the Attitude Era, guys. People talking about the WWE being on talk shows, being on everyone's lips. So the marriage with Endeavor, forming TK Group Holdings was pretty good. So I look forward to what we got to offer. I didn't cover everything. The Motor City Machine Guns, famous TNA team, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley finally made it to the WWE and won the WWE Tag Team Championships. Which was pretty cool. But the biggest mystery is what are they going to do with The Rock? What's going to happen at the Royal Rumble? There was this, and John Cena announced his farewell tour. That's another big thing. John Cena will be going on his farewell tour. John Cena finally saying goodbye to professional wrestling. So we got to really see what he's going to do. There was this thing on that was leaked out that said The Rock was the winner and John Cena was the runner-up. I don't know what sense that would make. Maybe WWE wants to put John Cena and Cody Rhodes, but the real story is The Rock and Cody Rhodes. That's what people really want to see, and maybe Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, because if they do Solo and Roman at Raw, then it wouldn't make sense for them to do Solo and Roman at WrestleMania necessarily, because it's already a tribal combat match that they're going to be. That they're going to be doing on the January the 6th Raw. So that's it for 2024. I'll be doing my other year in review for 2024. That's other things, featuring, for example, Donald Trump winning the presidential election for the second time, becoming the first person since Grover Cleveland in 1892 to win the election two non-consecutive terms, upsetting the apple cart, Joe Biden being forced out, and then Kamala Harris having 100 days and losing it and blowing it. Also, other things that happened, the healthcare, this will be in the other video, but the healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, being gunned down in the middle of New York by the world's new hero, Luigi Mangione. This has nothing to do with wrestling, but CEO got gunned down in the middle of New York City, and suddenly this guy Luigi Mangione becomes a hero to many, the vigilante, like Batman style. Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. You know, musically, Kendrick Lamar blew up. His song "Not Like Us" was the song of the summer. You know, this beef reinvigorated and re-electrified, hip hop, starting last year with First Person Shooter. Uh, that Drake had, it was him and J. Cole, they had Kendrick on there. Kendrick declined to be on there. Then he releases Like That with Future. And he disses Drake there, and he disses J. Cole. J. Cole drops out of the beef. Drake and J. Cole go at it. And Drake drops Family Matters. Drake and Kendrick go at it. Drake drops Family Matters. And Kendrick drops Not Like Us and destroys Drake. And we haven't really heard from Drake pretty much at all this whole year. Somebody who was completely dominant. It's going tying it back to wrestling. Wrestlers that we lost this year: Psycho Sid Udy. We lost on my birthday. I did a tribute to him. Other people that we lost: James Earl Jones, Quincy Jones, musical genius, and of course, at the end of the year, former president, 39th president of the United States, Jimmy Carter. So it's been a year of unpredictability, really. A lot of people have been taken out as far as geopolitics is concerned. The heads of Hamas, the heads of Hezbollah, Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, was taken out. And finally ending it, Bashar al-Assad was overthrown in Syria. His family had been in charge for over 50 years. So unpredictability in the world of geopolitics as well as the world of professional wrestling. It's a theme of changing of the guard in WWE, no longer the McMahon family, a changing of the guard in Syria, no longer the Assad family. 2024, boy. Wow. What a year, boy. But that's for the next video. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and Fat Joe. At the end of the year, Fat Joe gets called out for his comments on Math Hoffa's podcast, saying that this was the Not Like Us year. The black community rejected Drake in his beef with Kendrick. The black community rejected Kamala Harris in her bid against Donald Trump. And a large portion of the black community rejected her. And a large portion of the black community, especially the foundational Black American faction, they're not really a faction, they're an ethnic delineation, but the people who started using this term, many of them are influenced by Tariq Nasheed. And, and they've been coming for Fat Joe like for the longest now since Microphone Check came out. There are many Latinos like Dr. Derek Colon, Crazy Legs, Joe Gonzo, and now Fat Joe, trying to get this documentary banned, kicked off Amazon. And, Fat Joe comes out with Math Hoffa's podcast and just is like, saying basically that the FBA is a bunch of broke motherfuckers and using the N-word and saying a whole bunch of derogatory shit. For that, he gets canceled. He got canceled. He got blacklisted. People ain't fucking with Fat Joe because of that. You know what I mean? Because they feel like he overstepped his bounds. He's not like us. So that's basically been the theme for 2024, the whole Not Like Us. We saw breakdancing at the Olympics, which was a complete embarrassment to the art form of hip hop. We may never see it again in any other form. This year, crazy stuff. In movies, so it was a better year for movies than 2023 was, obviously, because 2023 you had the writer's strike and all that shit. But in the two movies that everybody remember were Oppenheimer and the Barbie movie. this year, I gotta say, the big flops. Joker 2 was a huge flop. People wanted Joker 2 to succeed. People wanted Joker 2 to be what Joker 1 was in 2019, and it just wasn't. It sucked. You know, it was a huge letdown starring Lady Gaga. They decided to make it into a musical. People wanted the Mufasa movie, the prequel to The Lion King, to be something special. Really wasn't. People wanted Doom 2 to be something really special, and it just wasn't. Uh, Once again, Star Wars flop. You know, Star Wars showing The Acolyte completely bombed on Disney Plus. When are they going to stop doing this? The movie that was successful is Wicked, the 2003 adaptation prequel to The Wizard of Oz. Was very successful. That came at the end of the movie season. And other sequel that was very successful was Inside Out 2, which I saw with my friend Lisa. Kind of saw half of it because I fell asleep right on the sofa at that time. You know, but the parts I saw were pretty good. You know, it was very good, very, you know, a nice little sequel to Inside Out 1. So, you know, that's the story in music. And in sports, the Dodgers won the World Series against the Yankees. And the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, featuring Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift can impact the Super Bowl but she could not impact the 2024 election. And that is pretty much it. And we saw power struggles in South Korea. We saw continued power struggles in France, an overthrow of the ruling elite, the government of Rishi Sunak, and the Tory party in England. Because again, the Tories in England, just like Joe Biden here in the United States, were aiding in Gaza, and many on the left didn't like that. That's all for another video. I'm going off. But as far as WWE, this was a great year for WWE. Peace, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell button.